The trees seem to close in around me as I push my way through the underbrush. Thorny branches snag at my clothes and long tendrils of kudzu vine wrap around my ankle, trying to hold me in place. I kick free and press on, following the narrow path that leads deep into the woods. It's been 20 years since the murder happened, but I still don't want to be here. I don't want to see it. But Sarah is insistent. She thinks we might be able to solve it, even now. And if there's one thing I've learned about my best friend, it's that she can be relentless when she sets her mind to something. "Come on, Emily," she calls from up the path. "Hurry up. I'm coming." I push aside another branch and step into a clearing. 5 paces away from me lies an old oak tree, its bark twisted and gnarled with age. 20 years ago, a dead girl hung from that tree. Marty Pembroke. She was 17 when she died, just a year older than me now. Sarah kneels by the tree, her fingers brushing against the cold earth as she searches for any hidden clues. Her eyes are narrowed in concentration, and her dark hair falls around her face like a curtain. She's so focused that she doesn't even look up when I join her. I stand at the edge of the clearing, my heart pounding in my chest. I'm not sure what I expect to see here, but I know it isn't going to be good. Mark stands beside me, adjusting his glasses as he scans the area. He's been with us since freshman year, and he's always been good at research. But even he looks nervous here. "Emily." Sarah's voice is low and serious. "Come here a minute." My stomach twists with nerves as I move toward her. She's found something. I can tell by the way she's staring at the ground. "Is that?" I trail off, not sure what to say. She doesn't answer me, but instead pulls out a small brush from her backpack and begins gently sweeping away some of the leaves. I step closer, peering over her shoulder as she works. Beneath the leaves, a glint of metal catches the fading light. My heart beats faster as a mix of dread and curiosity fills me. I kneel beside Sarah, my eyes fixed on the metal object, and she glances up at me. Her face is set in a determined expression, but I can see the fear there too. She's nervous about what we're going to find. Mark steps closer behind us, his presence a reminder that he's here too. "What is it?" I ask. "Looks like a locket," he says. His voice is skeptical, but I can tell he's just as curious as the rest of us. Sarah lifts the locket from the ground, and the chain clinks against the metal as it moves. It's covered in dirt and rust, but when she blows against it some of the grime falls away and I see that it's attached to a chain. The chain is tangled up with dirt and bits of leaves, but it looks like it might be long enough to fit around someone's neck. I reach out a hand, hesitating for a moment before running my fingers along the chain. It feels cool against my skin, and I shiver as I wonder who this locket might have belonged to. "Can you open it?" I ask. Sarah nods, her fingers trembling slightly as she fumbles with the clasp. With a soft click, the locket springs open, revealing a faded photograph inside. The face staring back at us is unmistakable, it's Marty Pembroke, but there's something else in the picture that makes my blood run cold. Emily's breath catches in her throat as she stares at the photograph. Marty Pembroke is a name that's haunted our town for years. She was a beautiful girl, with long blonde hair and a face like a model's. But she was also trouble, everyone knew that. She hung out with the wrong crowd, and there were rumors that she was involved with some pretty shady characters. But even so, no one expected her to end up dead. It happened on a night just like this one, when she snuck out of her house to meet up with some friends in these very woods. No one knows what happened next, but the next morning her body was found hanging from this very tree. The police investigated, but they never found any leads or suspects. It was as if the killer vanished into thin air. Now, 20 years later, we're trying to uncover the truth about what really happened that night. "Is that?" Emily's voice trails off as she stares at the photograph. Marty is standing beside a boy in the picture, and his face is unmistakable too. It's Billy Pembroke, Marty's older brother. He was trouble too, and he disappeared shortly after his sister died. Sarah's voice trembles slightly as she speaks. Why would Billy have a picture like this with her locket? Mark leans in closer, his brow furrowed in thought. Maybe he knew something about that night, something he never told anyone. I swallow hard, the weight of the revelation settling over us, or maybe he was there when it happened. Let's search the area for more clues before it gets too dark, Emily suggests. Sarah nods, her eyes scanning the ground as if she's afraid to look away from the spot for even a second. I hesitate for a moment, but then follow them into the underbrush. The trees grow thicker here, and the air is cool and damp as we move beneath their branches. The only sound is the crunch of our footsteps on the dry leaves beneath our feet. I shine my flashlight down at the ground, watching as the beam of light flickers over roots and rocks and fallen branches. Emily's heart pounds in her chest as she moves through the trees, her eyes fixed on the ground as she searches for any sign of what might have happened here. She's been searching these woods for weeks now, but so far she hasn't found anything. Still, she can't shake the feeling that there's something here, something important. She freezes suddenly, staring down at a branch that's tangled up with something pink. Her breath catches in her throat as she realizes what it is, a piece of fabric, snagged on a thorn and flapping gently in the breeze. She reaches out a trembling hand, hesitating for a moment before plucking it from the branch. She holds it up, the pink fabric fluttering in the air. Sarah peers at it closely, her eyes squinting as she tries to make out what it is. Mark steps closer too, his brow furrowed in thought. What is it? Emily shrugs, her mind racing as she tries to think of what it might be. Sarah's eyes widen suddenly, and she gasps, I know this pattern. It's from Marty's dress in the picture. Emily's heart skips a beat as she stares at the fabric. It's a small piece, but it looks like it might have been torn from something bigger. She glances around, wondering if there might be more. Maybe we should follow the trail and see where it takes us, Mark suggests. Emily nods, her heart pounding in her chest. She folds the fabric up carefully and tucks it into her pocket before turning back to the others. Let's go, she says. They move cautiously through the trees, their hearts pounding in their chests as they wonder what they're going to find. The air is cool and damp beneath the branches, and the only sound is the soft rustle of leaves beneath their feet. Sarah is the first to spot something, and she freezes suddenly as she stares down at the ground. Emily and Mark move closer, peering over her shoulder as they try to see what she's found. It's another piece of fabric, snagged on a root that's grown up through the underbrush. It's pink, just like the last one, and it looks like it might have been torn from something bigger. Emily's heart beats faster as she realizes that it might be following a trail, leading them to whatever happened that night. She moves forward again, her eyes fixed on the ground as she searches for any sign of what might come next. The trees grow thicker here, casting long shadows across the ground as the sun begins to set. The air is cool and damp beneath their branches, and the only sound is the soft rustle of leaves beneath their feet. They move cautiously, their hearts pounding in their chests as they wonder what they're going to find. Suddenly Emily freezes, staring down at a branch that's snagged with something pink. Her breath catches in her throat as she realizes that it might be another piece of fabric. She reaches out a trembling hand, hesitating for a moment before plucking it from the branch. It's another piece of fabric, just like the last two. She glances around, wondering if there might be more, and then nods to the others. Let's keep going, she says. They move forward again, their eyes fixed on the ground as they continue to follow the trail of pink fabric. The air is cool and damp beneath the trees, and the only sound is the soft rustle of leaves beneath their feet. Emily's heart pounds in her chest as she realizes that whatever happened that night, they're getting close. Her breath catches in her throat as she freezes suddenly, staring down at something lying on the ground in front of her. It's a piece of fabric, just like the others. But this one is different, it's bigger, and it looks like it might have been torn from a dress. Her heart races as she realizes that this must be it, the final clue to what really happened that night. She glances up at the others, her eyes shining with excitement. "This is it," she whispers. "We did it." Mark and Sarah move closer as Emily hesitates for a moment before reaching down to pick it up. As soon as she touches it, though, she knows that something is wrong.